Welcome back, guys, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And today we have our preview a little bit later than preferred, but we had some stuff come up. So preview of week 2 of CFL action here. And we got 4 games here, some of which are interesting, some of which are not as interesting. And that'll be one way to put it. But we're going to start off with, I guess, as of when this video is coming out, today's game, which is between the Calgary Stampeders and the Ottawa Redblacks, the Jeremiah Mazzoli-less Ottawa Redblacks. But here's the thing. Calgary, on paper, should totally win this game. Kadeem Carey, though, is out. And Calgary last week was, oh boy, a little bit of a rough start for them. I've imagined that Rennie Paredes has a bounce-back game here. But I don't know. I mean, the Stamps didn't look that good against the Lions, although the Lions, to be fair, there's some better competition there, but I don't know. How are we feeling, Rick?
So after we both went 2-2 last week.
No, I went 3-1. What are you talking about? You guessed Lions, and you were right there. I guessed Bombers, and then I guessed Alouettes. You said Red Blacks because you thought Mazzoli would be in. He wasn't.
Oh yeah, right.
And then I
yes.
went Rough Riders,
right,
and you thought the Elks would somehow win at home. You silly man.
Either way, I'm still gonna take another bold move here because realistically, Calgary has been. Jake Maier still hasn't proven much.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say this, Arbuckle didn't have much of a game either last week. Throwing 3 interceptions.
This is gonna be the battle of pick sixes.
I was gonna say another kicking game like the Montreal Ottawa game was last week. Part of me wants to go with Ottawa this week.
See, part of me wants to go with Ottawa, but the thing is that Drew Desjardins will stop all the defensive linemen for Nick Arbuckle to throw a pick. So the thing is that I don't know, because the thing is that if a guy like Reggie Bagleton actually like activates the way that he can, and if Jake Maier plays halfway decent, and if Paredes gets back to his consistency, and I actually think that might be the only given this game has, is that Paredes most likely gets back to his consistency and his consistent self. You have to realize one of the most consistent kickers in CFL history. You know what I mean? Rennie Paredes. Oh my goodness, Paredes. So I'm gonna take Calgary. I think they're gonna make this game closer than they should, and I struggle to pick the Red Blacks when Jeremiah Mazzoli is not playing. I don't when does he get back? They need to get that figured out. You took the Red Blacks. I took the Stampeders. The next game of the week. Oh, wait. Do you have one more thing about that, or?
No, I was just going to say it's all going to come down to Calgary's offensive line.
That's fair.
Because Montreal gave up 6 sacks. On Fajardo, so we will see how well.
So how much of that was Montreal and how much of that was Ottawa? We're gonna find out how much of that was Ottawa. Jake Maier, can you scramble? Because we didn't see it in the pocket. So we'll take a look. But our next game of the week is going to be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Saskatchewan, and possibly a Trevor Harris-less Saskatchewan Roughriders because. Brain dead decisions are in Saskatchewan, ladies. I don't understand. Craig Dickinson, what are you doing? Let's kill you could have went up by a touchdown. You guys stopped them 3 times on the 1 yard line, and you don't think you could defend 80 yards? Are you kidding me? Now, to be fair, I think the Elks absolutely run for 2 there because you have nothing to lose if they somehow get that touchdown. But Trevor Harris might be out because of poor decision-making last week. So Bombers win this game whether Harris plays or not. The question is it by a crap ton or is it by a decent amount? I'm not gonna lie. I don't think this game is close. I think the Bombers win by at least 15 points. At least.
I'll just be glad after this game that all of the Rider fans get off their high horse.
After beating Edmonton in the place that Edmonton doesn't win.
Like, for some reason, like last week's Edmonton-Saskatchewan game, like all the Rider fans are like, oh, we're up here. Like, they all got mad to see when some
and then they had to pay
had...
for their next ticket. That's what happened.
No, it's not even that. I was reading on the Twitterverse that when people saw Hamilton above Saskatchewan in the power rankings, they were like, well, we won, you guys lost. I'm like, you guys beat Edmonton.
You guys beat the worst team in the league. Barely.
And
you threw your starting quarterback to the Wolves.
The only down factor for you guys is Jeff Coates doubtful. After that calf injury.
Oh heavens. Yeah, I mean not ideal, but I mean, like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Jefferson and Thomas will cause enough problems on their own. They'll cause enough problems on their own. And I mean, I've been really impressed with our coverage. I will say I have been pleased generally with our coverage. Now it kind of weakened up a little bit in the second half of that game, but that was more the running game that we gave up. And I mean, Edmonton was able to shut down that running game. So if Edmonton's able to shut down that running game, we'll be just fine. So no pun intended there. So I take the Bombers here by a decent margin. Who are you taking?
Do we even need to really discuss this?
No, I just want to hear you say it, dude.
As much as I hate to say this, I'm going with Winnipeg.
There he is. There he is. He always comes around. And then the next game of the week, they are going elk hunting in BC, where the Elks will be defeated by where they take on the Lions in BC Place. Oh boy, with the start the Lions had, and the way that Lions actually played pretty solid at home last season, and I mean, Elks played better on the road. I mean, better is hardly a way to put it. If there's one thing I will say, if there's anything that Edmonton has actually done really well at, it's punting. Their special teams for punting their punt team has been good. You got to give them that. They do push that ball back. Now they then give it all up again, but I mean, they push that ball back. So I think the Lions will chew up and spit them out. I don't think this is close. I think this is a blowout.
I honestly think this will be more of a blowout game for BC than the Winnipeg-Saskatchewan game.
Possibly. Depends. It might be. It is the Elks, so who knows? Thing is that if when it comes to more of a blowout, I don't necessarily think it'll be from the Lions putting up more points. It'll be from the Elks get nothing. That's what it will be. It'll be from the Lions just shutting everything down, as they were able to shut down Calgary quite easily. So I don't see Cornelius getting much.
I want to honestly say, after this week, if Cornelius doesn't pull the numbers, I can see him benched.
I don't see Chris Jones doing that. Chris Jones will not bench his boy. He is kind of like Chris Jones views him like Mark Scheifele. It's like he's a problem, but we can't get rid of him.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, this week they play...
And that's the thing. BC. With Cornelius, it's one of those things where even if you just bench him for a game, even just one, you know what I mean? Just shake him up a little bit, try something else. But
I mean, this week they play BC, and next week they play Toronto, and then Ottawa. So, I mean, they're going to be like 0-4.
Yeah, like we'll have to see how Ottawa does in this game against the Stamps. That will see if the Elks feel bad or a little worse than bad. But I think the Lions win this game, and I think they win this quite handily. What are we thinking here, Rick? You got to say it out loud.
I'm going with BC on this one. There's no way I'm going with Alex 2 weeks.
So we've only disagreed on one so far, and then our next one here we got the Ticats versus the Toronto Argonauts in the last game of the week here. This will be the Argonauts' first game.
I will be at this one.
Not. Oh, there you go. Fancy. You're going to Toronto. But interesting thing here, and this is an advantage that the Argonauts have here. The Ticats have no film of the Argonauts from this season. The Argonauts got a decent amount of film of the Ticats from their first game against the Bombers. So, do I think it's a huge factor? Not necessarily, but it is a factor. It's worth mentioning. The big question here for Toronto is Chad Kelly going to be up? Is he going to be up to snuff? And the thing is that if he is, I think the Argonauts narrowly lose this game. If he isn't, this could be a one of those things where, like, you remember how, like, the Montreal Canadiens made the Stanley Cup final and then they just, like, fell off a cliff and just the whole team was, like, blown up?
Mm-hmm.
Might see that with Toronto here. We'll have to see, because Chad Kelly, the thing is that I think there's a decent chance that Chad Kelly might have a really good game one, even like a first 3 or 4 games. It's the consistency across a prolonged season where I see him having consistency issues. But again, he did play well in the time he had. It wasn't much. It was a sample size, but if there's a lot of that, then there's a lot to look forward as an Argonauts fan. But we'll have to see here. I'm going to be taking the Tiger Cats simply because despite the issues they had in week 1, I think if they solve even half of them and then play more of the way they played in the second half of the game, then I think that the Ticats come out on top against the Argonauts here.
So here's the thing with me is, to me, Chad Kelly, there's not enough sample size whatsoever. He's only played. He was their short yardage QB last year when Bethel Thomas was in. And I don't know if our listeners know this or not, but Mitchell is 14-4 against the Argos.
I didn't know. I didn't even know that.
And not only that, but I'll be glad to see when Hamilton beats Toronto, because everyone on their high horse, everyone that I've seen throughout podcasts, Twitter, everything is picking Toronto. And soon as we beat Toronto, everyone's going to come down to planet Earth.
Because and that's the thing. I do think Toronto actually has a chance of winning this game, because the thing is that, again, they have that advantage of seeing that film, maybe trying some new things to surprise Hamilton a bit here. Toronto needs to get up in this game early if they want to compete. As I mean, Hamilton was not able to get back. They made a big push for it, didn't quite get all the way back. Argonauts have a chance to win this game, but I think that a lot of people are over-exaggerating how big that chance is. I just think that the Ticats have a bit more of a complete roster than the Argonauts do.
See, with me, it's going to come down to 2 factors. So one is going to be Reinbold. You cannot, when he's on fire with special teams, that special teams is like unstoppable. The other thing is that I was going to mention, now I can't remember what I was going to mention. Oh, yes. No lead in the CFL is a good lead. So just remember, once you fall behind, and I mean, yeah, we blew a lot of leads last year, but that was last year. This is this year. And look, everyone thought that when your Bombers were beating us 29-4, that you guys were going to beat us. And then we had every
we
Winnipeg
still did,
fan,
but we...
No, but not by the big, large margin. And we had Winnipeg fans in the crowd crying last week because they thought that we were going to come back and win. So
I didn't see that, but I mean, you definitely scared me. I'll be the first to admit that. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think last week the Bombers had a decent game against what I believe is the best team going to come out of the East. I think that this will be a decent showing in the sense of these are the 2 teams where if Chad Kelly is up to performance here, and if Bo Levi Mitchell can get into his stride, these are the 2 teams that are going to be battling it out for that spot in the East. If Chad Kelly shows that consistency, if he doesn't, we got concerns here. But Toronto is going to roll with him. I actually do like the idea of rolling with him instead of always just having the idea of just buying used goods from somewhere else. I mean, that's kind of what you guys did in Hamilton, but I mean, you know, you guys have done that before, and it hasn't been always the worst decision. So I mean, it makes sense. You have a certain level of what?
At least our used goods came from Calgary with like 5 Stampeders from one team.
Exactly, and look where they are now. Look where they are now.
Hey, Butler had 66 yards rushing against you guys. I think he'll have at least 80 to 90 rushing yards this week against Toronto.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can see that. But so I'm gonna have the Ticats. So I got the Stamps, the Bombers, the Lions, Ticats. I'm assuming you're taking the Ticats as well. I think the only game where we differ here is the Stampeders Red Blacks, right?
Correct.
All right. Well, honestly, that's pretty fair for the most part. I honestly could have taken the Red Blacks as well, but you know that's no fun. So we're making things interesting here at CFL Central. So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you guys have not already. Make sure you guys comment down below what your picks are for this week and why. Also comment down below if we have any more audio problems. I'm trying to fix them. I'm sorry. I love you guys. Take care.